Thank you, Janet. That was beautiful. Welcome everyone to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Megan Moyer, and I will be your worship associate today. I am so proud to introduce today's speaker, our own Janet Mocker. Janet has been a member of Live Oak for over 10 years and volunteers as a soloist, as you just heard, a choir member, and she's our bookkeeper. Thank you for that. Those are just side gigs to her full-time career at the Santa Barbara Foundation, where she is the Senior Director of Finance, and she is also a recent graduate of Reverend Jonathan and Ann Buck's sermon writing class. Did you give out diplomas, Jonathan? Invisible diploma. Okay, well, her efforts will be demonstrated today with this sermon.
Today's sermon is about the pit, going down into the pit, being stuck in the pit, getting out of the pit, how we think, feel, interact, and whether we are together or alone in the pit experience. The meaning of the pit. The pit represents a deep, dark place of despair. It may seem inescapable, and we may feel fear and anxiety. It may be a literal pit or a mental or emotional pit. Maybe you feel really stuck in a pit, or like staying out of a pit is an ongoing struggle. Or maybe you're just nervous about something with the feeling of a pit in your stomach. We have stories of two donkeys and their pit experiences. The main story is Walt Disney's 2011 film Winnie the Pooh, based on the works of A.A. Milne and E.H. Shepard. The main characters are a honey-colored bear whose diet seems to consist entirely of honey, full name Winnie the Pooh, Pooh for short, and a donkey, thoughtfully, lovingly named Eeyore after the sound donkeys make. It is called a bray, sounds like pray. This braying sound is unique in that donkeys vocalize while inhaling and exhaling, producing a hee on the inhale and a haw on the exhale, resulting in a loud hee-haw or ee-or. How does Pooh's friend paddle his boat? Oars it. The other story is a parable. Its purpose is not personal connection, but rather to teach a lesson. So its donkey and humans do not have names, and it is not a nice story. It goes like this. A farmer's donkey fell into a dried-up well pit. The farmer decided that the donkey was old and not very useful anymore. It would be a lot of work to get him out, and the pit needed to be covered up anyway. So he gathered his friends and neighbors, and they shoveled dirt down into the pit with the donkey standing in it. But as each shovelful hit the donkey's back, he shook it off. The dirt fell down around his feet, and he stepped up on it. So he was standing on a mound of dirt that grew higher and higher. He got closer and closer to the top, and he walked right out of the pit. This is supposed to teach self-determination, taking care of and looking out for yourself, shaking off the dirt and never giving up. But to me, it is a sad tale that the people were so disconnected from the donkey that he had to fend for himself, and so disconnected from each other that they didn't stop and have a meaningful discussion about what they were doing. I offer this epilogue. The humans learned so much from the donkey that day. They thanked him for sharing his years of service and wisdom with them. He humbly accepted their gratitude and forgave them. They formed a pastoral care team to take him and other retiring donkeys in their communities to a sanctuary like Rancho Burro in Arroyo Grande, California. And they formed a ground safety maintenance team to cover up the remaining pits in their community so that no one would be at risk of falling in ever again. Most of you probably know that burro is the Spanish word for donkey. Rancho burro means donkey ranch. What do you call a scared baby donkey? A chicken burrito. Before we move on to Eeyore's story, I would like to invite you to stand up and take a few moments. Go ahead, stand on up. Take a few moments to shake off any dirt that anyone or anything has been throwing on you. Maybe shake off the unkind part of that parable or the bad jokes. Take a few steps up out of anything that feels like a pit. Inhale, exhale, yawn, stretch, hee-haw if you like, and when you are ready, settle back into your seats. We have some slides on both screens from the 2011 Winnie the Pooh film. We see into Christopher Robin's room. He is a young boy about 5 or 6, still learning to read and write. He collects things, especially stuffed animals, that he imagines into a cast of characters of a story that takes place in 100 Acre Wood. And the film then takes us into the storybook. There is a narrator played by John Cleese who dialogues with Pooh. Pooh is sound asleep, and the narrator has to shake the book to awaken him from a most wonderful dream. Pooh is hungry, but his honey pots are empty. Perhaps one of his friends in 100 Acre Wood will have some honey to share. Pooh finds Eeyore standing in his little stick house and asks if he has any honey. He checks the front and the back, and he asks, "What has happened to your tail?" Eeyore asks, "What has happened to it?" Pooh replies, "It isn't there." Pooh puts his hunger aside and they go to Owl because, as Pooh says, Pooh has a little brain and Owl is so good at telling them what to do. Owl is quite flattered by this compliment and advises going to Christopher Robin, who calls a community meeting to inform everyone that their dear friend Eeyore has suffered the tragic loss of his tail, and there will be a contest for the replacement. Slide 2. And so they try a great many things. There is a red balloon seen throughout the film that develops its own persona. Balloon is the first thing they try. They also try a cuckoo clock, a yo-yo, an umbrella, a dartboard, and more, all at poor Eeyore's expense as he gets hit and blown about by these poor tail substitutes. Slide 3. Kanga is the only one who offers a sensible replacement. She has knitted a scarf that she lovingly attaches, and she doesn't care about reward or recognition. She just wants to help. It seems the problem has been solved. So Pooh goes back to looking for honey. Christopher Robin will surely have some. And since we are in a storybook, Pooh walks across the page into the next paragraph following a string of yarn, and we learn that the tail Kanga knitted has unraveled and Eeyore is back to having no tail. Slide 4. When Pooh gets to Christopher Robin's house, he finds a note he cannot read. So he takes it to Owl, who proudly says, "There has never been a note I cannot read." That statement seems rather egotistical, so you would hope it would cause them to question what Owl says next, but they don't. They just trust him. Christopher Robin's intent was to let them know he had gone out, was busy, and would be back soon. The school year started. He had to go for part of the day, but he is still learning to spell and write legibly, and Owl has a big ego and doesn't want to admit that he cannot understand the misspelled note with a dropped O in the word soon. So he announces that Christopher Robin has been captured by a backsun and leads them in imagining a big, scary-looking, mischievous creature. It sneaks into your library and scribbles in all your books. It tangles up your Christmas lights. Maybe it's the reason Eeyore's tail is gone. This is a perfect example of how a ladder of inference can take you up its rungs to select data, add meanings, make assumptions, draw conclusions, adopt beliefs, and take actions, all without asking, why do I believe this? How might this be wrong? And Pooh has been distracted twice from taking care of his basic need to eat, first by the missing tail, and now by this imaginary Baxen. Slide 5. They set a trap for the Baxen by digging a pit and baiting it with an empty honey pot, but Pooh gets so hungry he starts hallucinating, and we hear a song that everything is honey and honey's everything. He comes out of a honey trance, sees the pot, forgets that it is empty and part of a trap, goes to grab it, and falls in the pit. Slide 6. The others realize that Pooh has fallen in, and Eeyore, who has been too slow to keep up with them, reappears singing, it's me, found this anchor over there, now it's on my derriere, not that anybody cares." They think they can all hold on to the chain and gently lower the anchor down and pull Pooh up out of the pit. Slide 7. But of course, the anchor is very heavy, so instead it pulls them all down into the pit, except for Piglet, who remains at the top. Rabbit looks up at Piglet and asks him to bring something to help get us out of here. Slide 8. Piglet is a child. He is not Pig, but Piglet, so he doesn't understand at all what he is being asked to do and returns with a flower. Pooh thinks it's lovely. Rabbit kindly agrees that it's very nice, perennial even, but would Piglet please bring something longer? So he brings a big book that Owl read them, and Pooh agrees it was very long indeed. Rabbit is still patiently problem-solving and says, I wish we had thought to bring a rope. Piglet asks, like this one? Rabbit is very pleased that there is a rope after all to get them all out. Piglet asks, all of you? Rabbit says, yes, Piglet, all of us. Slide 9. Piglet counts that there are 6 of them, cuts the rope into pieces and exclaims, there, now you can all get out. Slide 10. They send Piglet to Christopher Robin's house for a jump rope, but he is scared because he has to go through the woods all by himself to get there. Owl flies up to the top of the pit and encourages Piglet to go forth with an inspiring speech. He flies back down, and they are all so impressed with the speech, it doesn't occur to them that Owl's ability to fly could help get them out of the pit. Piglet goes into the woods, finds Balloon lodged in a tree, and sees Tigger in the distance in a Baxen costume. Tigger has been off in the woods by himself trying to capture the Baxen as only a Tigger can. Tigger recognizes Piglet, but Piglet thinks Tigger is the Baxen and is terrified. So he grabs onto Balloon, and Balloon carries Piglet out of the woods toward the pit. As they come across the pages of the book, they collide with the words, and the letters fall to the ground. Tigger runs out of the woods after them. Slide 11. Piglet, Tigger, and the letters of the book collide and fall into the pit. Balloon flies away, and now they are all stuck in the pit. Slide 12. Fate intervenes. The letters form a ladder, and so they all use the letter ladder to climb out of the pit. Christopher Robin returns. They are pleasantly surprised he has escaped from the Baxen. He asks, what on earth is a Baxen? They mention his note, and he explains that it was all a misunderstanding. Slide 13. Pooh is back to looking for honey. He goes to Owl's house and notices that Owl has been using Eeyore's tail as a doorbell. Owl had found it on a thistle bush and hadn't realized it was someone's tail. Owl has honey for Pooh, but Pooh decides it is more important to get the tail back to Eeyore. Slide 14, Christopher Robin reattaches Eeyore's tail. Pooh asks, are you happy, Eeyore? Eeyore replies, no, but I sure do like this new tail. Christopher Robin tells Pooh he did a very good thing and he has some honey, so Pooh finally gets to eat. That is the end of the film. Commentary on Eeyore. Eeyore is gloomy and a pessimist, but he shows up for his friends. He is sympathetic and appreciative of their efforts, gifts, failures, and apologies. He shows us that happiness is an emotion, not a constant. Being a friend, hanging out, and helping others does not require that one be cheerful. Eeyore's presence and his friend's acceptance offers a tender reminder of the power of companionship and empathy. Commentary on the higher power. Pooh and his friends dialogue with the narrator, and the narrator and or other higher powers seem to care about their well-being. Though it is Pooh and his friends who move across the pages of the book and knock the letters down into the pit, something or someone causes them to form the letter ladder. There are other films in which humans converse with a higher power. In the 2006 film Stranger Than Fiction, Will Ferrell plays an IRS auditor who hears the voice of an author played by Emma Thompson as she writes a book about him. In the 1998 film City of Angels, an angel played by Nicolas Cage falls in love with a human played by Meg Ryan. In the 1977 film Oh God, George Burns appears as God to an assistant manager of a grocery store. The concept of a higher power, what exactly that is and what it means to you, is subjective and personal. In Unitarian Universalism, there is a course called Building Your Own Theology, in which you write a credo. Mine says that I believe in forces, interdependence, connectivity, and following my inner voice. The first unnamed donkey had only his inner voice. Maybe that was his higher power. He had hope, he was blessed, and he became a blessing to others. The Pooh characters also have hope and blessings of their higher power, their inner voices, and each other. Takeaways from Pooh: prioritize taking care of yourself so that you will be better able to think and act to help others. Eeyore: be thoughtful and deliberate when making or accepting a replacement. Rabbit and team: when someone is in a pit and you want to help, consider what is more likely. Will you pull them up or will they pull you down? Rabbit and Piglet: when someone helping you lacks expertise, give very specific instructions. Owl and team: when you do not understand something, do not jump to conclusions, and if someone offers an interpretation, ask yourself whether it makes sense. Takeaway from The Story's Over All and the Rock Band Journey: don't stop believing. Have faith in your higher power, yourself, and your community. Blessings and hope to you in the new year. For our closing song, I have chosen Donka Shane, which was dedicated to a friend who hadn't had a very nice day in the closing of the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It means thank you very much. Please stand as you are willing and able. Kevin will play it through once, and then we will sing.